Hi, and welcome everybody to Scott Schilling Speaks. I'm your host, Scott Schilling, and I'm really excited because we have a guest today that is truly a world expert, truly one of the most amazing people that I've ever met and have the honor to call friend. And that is a spiritual mentor, a Feng Shui Master, an expert on the law of attraction, and so much more. And we'll get into it all today. Marie Diamond, welcome. Thanks for joining us here today.
Oh, Scott, it's so wonderful to be with you.
It's always so fun when we get together, and we'll get into the details of all the fun things that you do, but I remember one of our early times meeting, and just it seemed like we knew each other forever. Now,
Yes.
you've got some magical abilities, so is it like that for you all the time? I know it's not like that for me all the time.
No, it's not always, but it's just like sometimes you meet somebody and your heart is like opens up right away and you're like, I know this soul, right? It's that spirit. And then you're like, yeah, we knew each other from before or whatever you would call that, or we know each other now, we know each other in the future. It's like this wonderful connection, right? And that was right away with you when we met for the first time in Canada. And so it's not with everyone, that's not possible, but I'm sure everybody has this experience that sometimes you meet somebody and it's immediately like click, right? There's just this connection. And that was definitely with us.
Yeah, just that old soul coming together, being able to just put it together in such a great time. Now, you do so many different things. I'm just trying to figure out where to start here. Uh, 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 let's let's talk first, maybe a bit about feng shui, and you being a true feng shui master. First of all, for those who may not know, and I'm not sure that I completely know exactly what is feng shui and how do you get to become a master?
Mm. Well, very good question. So feng shui is an energy system that is about 4,000 years old, and it's originated from China. And you can kind of compare it with, like, in China, we know there's acupuncture, there is Tai Chi, there's Qigong, and they all work with the flow of Qi, the flow of energy. Acupuncture is in the body, Tai Chi and Qigong is about movement, and it affects both your energy field, but also inside yourself, organs, your mindset, and so on. So I do believe that the masters of that time, the ones, the elders or the shamans, whatever you would call them, they were probably able to see how energy is flowing. And so they could see it in the body, they could see it around people, but they also saw it in the space around us. And so they actually found out, I think, principles and systems how to work with the energy of the home and where is the best place for a home to be located in the environment, in the landscape. And that is called feng shui, meaning wind and water. So for them, when you wanted to place you somewhere in the landscape to build a home, to build a farm, you have to always make sure you take care of having good wind, right? So that there would be a lot of harvest. And you also wanted to make sure you had good water, yeah, because that gives you longevity. So these are two elements of nature that we really need. But we also have to protect ourselves from the bad wind. So, China is the northern hemisphere, so they want to make sure they protected themselves from the northern winds that are the coldest winds and the eastern winds. And so they always set up their location of a city or location of a farm to make sure that, like in a home, that you would not have windows or door openings to the north and to the east, because each time you open it up, especially in the winter, you get all the cold in, right? And then you get sick, because feng shui was first based to look for longevity, looking for the health. They were not focusing on money, because right now people think, oh, feng shui has to do with money. But that was not the original purpose of it. It was like to really make sure you have a longer life, and longer living means that you have children, grandchildren that would one day take care of you. So they would always make sure the front door, the windows, or the openings in a house would be facing south or facing west, because that's more warmer winds coming in. Yeah. And when you have that, and you have longer sunlight also, because the sun is the brightest in the south and in the west. So that's like the original basic, I would say, standard principles that I think even in our side of the world we would do that. It's just, it's like looking into nature, what is the best for us. But over the thousands of years, they understood that there were more and more aspects that they need to look at, and they would look more and more into the landscape. But then also they understood the process of the compass, and then they saw that there were several compass directions, wind directions, and they started seeing there is a correlation between when we are born and how we are reacting to the wind and to the flow of energy. And definitely they would always make sure they would be close to water, like a river or a creek. But depending on which side of the water you would locate yourself, you would actually have like more what they called good luck happening. I'm just thinking they just found out there are better ways to create food and nurture yourself. So it's all about longevity, first of all. And then the second part was I started seeing, if you have longevity, you have a longer possibility to be good in your business, to be good in your farming. And so they kind of looked for then success and career. And then only after that they would look for relationships. They start seeing that in certain places people would feel more in harmony, yeah, more at peace, right? And so that is actually how certain schools, they were called schools because they were like elders, masters, the ones
Mhm.
that could really locate a place very well. They would really start finding their own ways, techniques, and they would call that a school. And literally, that at a certain point, around 2500, that information was more and more kept to the wealthy ones, so to the emperors, the courts, and that the general public was not allowed to have that information. So it was like sacred information after a while, because hey, if you could make sure the emperor had a longer life, you would benefit from that, right? So that is how it kind of evolved. And only in the 1950s, that information started being more and more outside of China, because we had then the Chinese Cultural Revolution, and a lot of the wealthy families and the important figures, authorities, kind of left China and moved to areas like in Hong Kong and Taiwan and Singapore and Malaysia, but they took their Feng Shui masters with them. Yeah. And so that is how it actually ended up in the West. So in the 1980s, the first book in English came out. And actually, I started studying Feng Shui for the first time, some basic principles, when I was 15 years old. So it is like more
Wow.
than 50 years ago, more than 40 years ago. And so I really started practicing basic principles I knew at that time. And then I really, when I was in my early 30s, I really found a grandmaster, because you have masters and you have grandmasters. And so it all depends on how long have you practiced feng shui. So I'm considered a master because I've practiced and I have my own school for more than 20 years.
Wow.
And if you have, a lot of students, and I have students in more than 190 countries. We have more than 1 million students that have gone through classes with me. So that means that you are considered, an influential master. And if you have worked with celebrities and companies and governments, then your I would say your recognition as a master becomes more and more out there.
Now, I know that when we were together, we had talked about, I was having some physical pain. And
Yeah.
you said, well, we need to align your bedroom and do a variety of different things. And there were rods that you had given me. Uh,
Mhm.
how does a process like that work?
Well, you have the ancient masters. They knew there were, first of all, the influence of the landscape from the compass directions, the influence of water, how it relates with you. But they also knew there was another level, and they called that the magnetic field. And so they would actually look at where is there undercurrent water, where are there ley lines, positive lines. It's like, think about your body. We have meridians in our
Right.
body, right? And so an acupuncturist that is studied that, they know that on the body there are lines moving through our body, and that there can be blockages, and then they put little needles on it, right, to deblock the energy, right? That's kind of what they do. They rearrange the flow of the chi, the flow of the
Right.
energy. And so they also understood that there were more than feng shui, who's about location, who's about direction, who's about your interior, what you place around you, that there are also magnetic fields in the earth that we need to address. And so when you, for example, sleeping on undercurrent water, and then now in our days, it's also to do with electricity. So that changes the magnetic field, that this can disturb our flow of energy in us. And so they would always look for where are the positive lines. And they would, for example, make sure that the emperor would always sit on two positive ley lines. What, like in England, we know Stonehenge, for example, that is a combination of four of these positive meridians. Yeah. And then they put something on it, like stones, to make it an activation of these ley lines. Yeah. So you have all over the world in different traditions, I would say the shamans, the elders, the priests from that generation, they would see, probably they could see or they could feel how these ley lines were placed. And so what I did with you is checking out, and we call that dowsing. And dowsing is used for many, many generations to find water. So because if you find the undercurrent water, you can tap into a source, yeah? And to see, like, if you can tap in the source, I can bring the water up. But you would never sleep on the water, right? Because if you
Right.
sleep on the water, you actually are, interesting enough, dehydrating yourself. You like, water attracts water, so your energy goes down. And so they would always make sure there is a source, but they would never put the source inside the house. Yeah, you never have that. You know, a source is always outside the house, and you have to go out to get the water to bring it into the house, right? I mean, to be, if they would be smart, you would say, well, they put it in the house, but they knew that that was not positive. Yeah.
Right.
And so we, with dowsing, we can actually figure out where are these underground water lines. But in today's world, unfortunately, people are not aware of these underground waters anymore, so they kind of build everywhere, right? But
Yeah.
in, like in Europe, like I'm living in Europe, you see that the center of cities, where they have the square, where they would have a fountain, or they would have a statues, or they would put a cathedral. That is actually where the strongest energy was. And then they would build cities around that strongest energy. And the strongest energy is always where these acupuncture lines really are crossing in a perfect, angle. Yeah. And so when they're there, then there's a vortex, like a positive energy that swirls up. And then what the cathedral builders would do, they would build a tower on it so they could grasp that positive energy. And later on, of course, the church, for some reason, they must have been aware of it, or it must have been passed on by this
Sure.
information. And so, or they built this based on pagan traditions. Like, they would know the pagans would always celebrate their gods and goddesses there, or they would celebrate Isis or the Mother Earth there. So they would then use cathedrals to put their, put that in the same place where the pagan traditions were celebrating. So I'm sure they figured out that people are attracted to these positive vortexes. So even Stonehenge, if you don't know it, you all want, or if you're in London, you want to go there, right? There's
Yeah.
an attraction point. So even today, even if you're not a Christian anymore, if there's a cathedral, people will want to go in there, right? Because
It's
it's an
fascinating.
attraction. Yeah, because, and they want to be there because it uplifts your energy. So these places were used for building not just cathedrals but also palaces. Like Buckingham Palace is totally aligned with a positive vortex. Actually, the borders where the queen is always with her family, kind of greeting everybody, is on a crossing of these ley lines. Yeah, very
Wow.
interesting. Why would they build that over there, right? Well, because it gives them power. Yeah.
That's
So
fascinating.
think about Washington Monument, the Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. The Freemasons that built that in the late 1700s, early 1800s, they were aware of, again, these ley lines. They had a way to see it or to feel it or to measure it. I don't know how they did it, but that information was always kept, but always to the ones that had the power and the knowledge. Yeah.
Right.
And so when I started learning all about this, I thought, like, yeah, everybody needs to know this, right? So
Yeah.
because I remember when I studied that, a lot of these masters were like, we don't give that information. Yeah, there's like you have to get paid very highly, a lot of money from your clients, so that you would only have, the wealthy and the rich that would pay you. And so I was, from the moment that I learned all this, I was totally against all this, right? So I was like, no, no, no. Of course, the super wealthy can pay me well, but I need to make sure that this information goes out to as many people as possible, because we're all queens and kings, emperors, empresses in our own life. So I made sure that, there's a lot of information for free available for me, because I really want people to all feel uplifted. Yeah. And so even if we have online programs, we always make that the prices are super reasonable. And that is why, like on Dowsing alone, we have more than 300,000 people online that have studied that. And on
Wow.
Feng Shui, more than 1 million. And I always talk about that because I tell to people, look, this is what the super wealthy know, right? This is what they are hiring us for. But what if you can have the first steps already, for free, or at least for a very reasonable price?
That's, I mean, it's absolutely fascinating, and it makes tremendous sense that the hierarchy, the elite would build around those positive centers and different things. I mean, but you don't, if you've never heard that story or you've never heard that reasoning behind it, now it makes all the sense in the world once you've heard it, but prior to hearing
Yes.
it, it's like never. So did feng shui lead to your spiritual mentorship, or was it the other way around? How did, I know you're also a tremendous spiritual mentor to so many. which which came first, the chicken or the egg?
The spiritual mentor came first. So, I grew up really seeing energy. So, for me, I thought everybody could see what I saw. So, I saw the aura fields changing. Could see the chakras. I could see the energy field in a house. So, the aura fields of spaces, of items. So it's only around 7 years old I figured out that there were not a lot like me around me. And so that's when I actually met for the first time my spiritual mentor, my master on spiritual level. And he started teaching and training me with meditation, and giving me some life lessons around the law of attraction, around how to deal with energy, how to use it for the benefit of humankind. And but I still thought I was like quite still cool, and I was manifesting a few things, and it was kind of fun. But it was only when I was 15 that I really had a big shift happening on that, after I had a near death experience. So I was run over by a truck, and I actually died. They pulled the white blanket over me. And anyhow, my mother, by coincidence, came on that place where I had the accident, and she kept screaming so much that she's like, she's so young, you have to revive her. So they start again with the reviving. And so, but I was already gone. I saw
Wow.
myself, I saw my mother, I was seeing the ambulance inside, and then I went to all other dimensions, and I came in front of a board. I call the board of beautiful beings of light. I mean, it was not just one. It were like, I would say 9 or 10 or something like this. And they said very clearly to me, you have to go back because you're here to enlighten more than 500 million people.
Wow.
And I was like, "Whoa, okay, I did not know what that meant. I was in a conscious state, right? So I came back into my body. And to be honest, I thought in the first few days, because there was just white around me and light, that I was still there. And then my mom came in, and I started feeling like, okay, I can feel the bed. But apparently my head, because I fell also on my head, I had, a huge concussion, but also my whole skin was off. So I had kind of fell on all pebbles. So my
Oh,
whole skin was gone. Yeah. And so my mom said, we'll have to do some surgery, plastic surgery. And I said to her, you can't do this. I refuse. You have to trust me, because I'm going to heal myself. But I'm Catholic from background. Healing yourself is not something you do, right? God heals you. Jesus, Mary, there's like the angels. But like healing myself, I did not know why that was said in me. But I just started putting my hands on my face. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, I went back to school, and I had again an amazing skin. Yeah. And so the
wow.
doctor said, this is not possible. And still today, I'm 58. I still have a glorious skin. And but it was really interesting, because that's the first time I really understood that there was some power in me, yeah, that I could work with to heal. And from that moment on, I really worked with my spiritual mentor to go much more deeper in meditations. And I studied a lot around all this. But I thought, like, I want to really enlighten more than 500 million people. I had no idea how to start doing that, right? So I thought, like, well, what if I become a diplomat and work for the United Nations, right? I could be
Good
able to
idea.
reach millions of people, or a minister, right, of my country. I'm from Belgium originally. And so I actually studied law, and I became an international lawyer, because I thought, like, if I know law, then it will be easier accessible to jobs in the government. What indeed happened. I worked for the Belgian government and for the European government. But and in that time I was becoming as a lawyer, I had a very major spiritual experience, what some people would call an enlightenment experience. And so I totally became one with the universe. And I'm sure it's because of the years and years of intense meditation. And then after, 5 years being a lawyer, I just decided, this is not the path to go. I felt I'd made some difference, but not fast enough. Yeah.
Right.
And so I started a consulting company, and I started mentoring people, speaking publicly about meditation, Feng Shui, enlightenment. Meanwhile, I already had a Feng Shui grandmaster that was teaching me Feng Shui. And that is how I really literally started bringing this work forward. And actually, interesting enough, my first clients were the politicians that I was helping. So they
That's
always were
interesting.
saying to me, like, Marie, you always are so joyful. You like, you get everything done so fast, because I knew how to use energy to make things happen very fast, to manifest fast. And so they were coming to me, and I was helping them out. And but after a few years, I was like, okay, Belgium is too small. I will never reach 500 million people. So I moved to America, and within a few weeks, I was attracting, because I was like, okay, I'm not going to waste too much time. I need to attract right away the top people that need me, right? So within a few weeks, I had Oscar-winning clients. And then a few months later, I attracted people that had sold millions of books, like Jack Canfield, John Gray. They became my clients. I was mentoring them. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm just a lawyer from Belgium, to be honest. I just came to America. But it's just like, it was just very magical how this all happens. And that's how I then ended up in the Transformation Leadership Council created by Jack Canfield, where then The Secret was filmed. And that was actually, I like to mention, that was my first ever interview in front of a camera. I
Wow.
have never been in front of a camera till that moment. It was 2002, 2005, sorry. And so it was really interesting. And I knew I was going to be in this movie. It was like, it was meant to be. And there's a long story around that. But, and then The Secret has now reached more than 500 million people. So I always say, check, done that.
You got to have some big checklists that you've accomplished, throughout your life, throughout your career. So then, as a spiritual mentor and as a Feng Shui master, obviously with the secret, you now start talking law of attraction, and I think a lot of people, uh, myself included, would love to be far more adept at the law of attraction and understand it more fully as well. How are you able to take, everything that you've been trained up in and then serve people with law of attraction?
Well, I remember when the first lesson I ever heard from my grandmaster in Feng Shui, he actually started explaining the law of attraction in a way that I never heard before. So, in Feng Shui, they call it luck, right? But, in the West, we would call it good attraction, right? We are attracting something positive. And he said there are three directions, three journeys to get to attract what you want. And the first one is what most people have done over the generations of thousands of years is to pray. So they are praying to God, praying to a saint, praying to the universe, and they would meditate. Think about Buddhists or Hinduists, they would meditate. So what they're doing, they're actually connecting with what they call the spiritual aspect of the law of attraction. So they're connecting with a spiritual source, if that's outside of them or inside of themselves. And he said, some people say that's the only path towards attracting what you really want in life. But he said, ultimately, it's only about 33.3%. So it's not full. It's not 100 full. And he said, some people would call it destiny. Like, it's your destiny to be there, right? It's your karma,
Right.
positive, negative, what you attract. And he said, but there's a second part, and the second part is the human direction. And that's actually where the self-help movement, the human potential industry has been focusing on. And I would say also entrepreneurs have been really using that for, thousands of years. And that is to have a positive mindset, to know what you want, to have goals, right? To have a good attitude. Yeah, that can be to gratitude or to be always positive towards what you want to accomplish. And the third aspect of that human aspect is actually taking action. Yeah. So you think about something, you have a good attitude about it, and then you take action. Right. So think about athletes, professionals,
Right.
career-driven people. They will use that human potential sometimes more naturally than some other people. Right. Now, some would say this is 100% the journey, right? But after a while, they will see they kind of sometimes start hitting the ceiling because you cannot always do very positive in your thoughts and in your feelings and taking actions. You make mistakes, right? Or you don't have the discipline, yeah, to always stay on track with that. Yeah. So my master said there's only one third. It's again 33.3%. He said, of course, if you work on the spiritual level and you work on the human level, you can have more percentage. Full 33.3 is like, that must be already a master in this. So let's say we use 20% of the 33 and another 20%, we still only have 40%. We're still not moving forward because when a
No.
wheel has uh, to move forward, to spin, you need 51% of movement. Yeah. He said, because they're missing out a last part, and that's the last part that we call the environment, the earth luck. And that's what, the people that were wealthy, that were powerful, were using. They were using in China Feng Shui, they were using Dowsing, they would look for these lines, for these energy fields. So that's why some of these people were always on top because they were praying, they believed in that source connection, they had the right attitude, did the right actions, and then on top of it, they knew how to work with the space where they were living in. And so that is another 33.3% that most people have no clue about, right? So he said that is the journey through the environment. He said, but what if you do all three? You will move forward much faster. Yeah. And that is the missing link that the Chinese have found, that shamans or druids, Freemasons, over the years have found, but they kept it to themselves and only gave it to the people in power. So when I understood that, I was like, oh my God, that is my task. I just knew that was my purpose to I share all three aspects, but that last aspect in the self-help or in the human potential movement, they don't talk about that. So that is when I start sharing that in the secret already, that people are like, hey, look around you. You know, what is around you, right? The images, perhaps this is influencing you, right? So that was like the first step. And then I started really bringing that more and more forward to say, like, there is a secret behind the secret. Yeah. So that's the secret, that when I start working with people like Bob Proctor and, Mark Victor Hansen and Marion Williamson, all these great, amazing people like Jack Canfield, Rhonda Byrne from The Secret, at a certain moment, they said, we're hitting a ceiling. Yeah. We're
Right.
all kind of feeling like my thoughts, my discipline of my mind and my attitude and my actions, you can only go as far, because if your environment, the place where you live, where you sleep, where you work, is actually telling a different story, yeah, it actually, you will hit a ceiling, because your subconscious mind, that stands for 95% of your manifestation, is actually influenced by your environment. We don't see it consciously, but it's subconsciously there. That's why, like in The Secret, we talk about this vision board. You have to understand your home is like a three-dimensional vision board. Everything around you, the way you're sitting, the way you have around you, the colors, the way your home is located, your compass directions, the way you're facing, it all influences your subconscious mind. And that will start translating. Ultimately, you're saying, like, I do everything I want, right? And I still hit a ceiling. Why is that? Because your environment is blocking you instead of supporting your goals.
It's interesting because as you started sharing that that thought about environment, I was going to ask you about vision boards, and I kept on going, well, that seems like it'd be such a small part of it. But no, you need to ask it anyway. But it still seems like it's really small. I was going back and forth thinking about the vision boards because I've got one in my office here just to my left,
Yeah.
where all sorts of visions are there. In fact, many have manifested and come true to this point. So it's really the secret beyond the secret is really the environment, and that would be not only your physical surroundings. Wouldn't it also be the people you're associating with and all those kinds of things?
Yes, but the people are more that human part, yeah,
Oh,
because
makes sense.
they are you're attracting the like-minded people that do similar things, right?
Mhm.
So networking, for example, that you're very good at, that is in the human part, because we do that as a human being, the connection, yeah.
Got it.
But interesting enough, what you speak about vision boards is that, the place where you put your vision board can affect you tremendously. Yeah. So, but also, of course, if your environment is supporting you, then it's like portals are opening up, like the energy opens up, because we all have, based on your birthday, you can have what we call an energy number. And that energy number will indicate what are four best compass directions for you: one for success and money, one for your health, one for your relationship, and one for your wisdom, your inspiration. And people can get that to go to the marydiamond.com website, and there's a golden bar under my picture says, get your free energy report. When you click on that, you will be asked to put in your birthday and your gender. And so it will do a calculation. It's not a typical numerology, it's a very advanced calculation. And it gives you your four best directions. So, for example, mine is Southwest. Yeah. So, in the Southwest of my space, that is where I have my vision board. So, your success direction will always put your vision board, products, services, but you also can do something else. And that is, you can actually go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, and you can put in the words Marie Diamond, and you will get an application. And that application will do the same. I want to see it. The
Yep.
same as on my birthday on the website. Sorry. So you
Yep.
put in your I don't know if you can see it. It's a little bit difficult. Yeah. Your gender, your birthday, and then you reveal your energy number, and you will get a compass, and you have a number. Yeah. And you
Yep.
see on
I've
the
got that on
compass.
my phone.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
look at that once again.
So you have a success direction. So for example, for this person that I just checked, their success direction is northwest. Yeah. So northwest is always during your whole life, right? It's the energy that attracts success and money. But you have one for relationship, right? So what people try to do then is they try to activate, and the report gives that. So it gives you the first basic steps, what to do. And so in my success direction, I have my products there. I have beautiful pictures of very successful people I work with. I have some items such as my business cards, my books, they're all there. But in my relationship direction, right, in my office, I have some of my clients. I have always a globe because I'm global, right?
Right.
So I manifest that. But in my bedroom, I will put something else in my relationship direction because that's where it's my family and my husband and me. But I would not put my family-in-law there, right? So, or friends, because it's a private place. In the
Got it.
living room, so each time when people do that, you will see when they have the compass, they will then stand in the center of three rooms: your bedroom, your workspace, and your living area. And so you will look in the center and kind of see, oh, that's my success direction. What is there at this moment? Because what has been there has been representing your success in like a quantum physics field. Yeah. And so it's like you have to think it's like a door that opens up to the universe. So if you have put there your paper shredder, like I talked to somebody last week, they had a big paper shredder there. And I said, how is business going? He said, oh, I attract so much good projects. And I said, and at the end of the month, how is your money status? And he said, oh my God, it's all gone. Yeah. So he's like, I'm so proud. I take
Uh,
every paper and I put it through the paper shredder. I said, yeah, but in the wrong place. So you know so you have to think about, you don't want any clutter there because you don't want any chaos. Feng shui is very much about creating order and harmony, yeah, cleaning things up, because you have to create an open space and then placing always the right items, but it's very personal, right? So that's why I don't want you to start going out and buy all these little Chinese objects to activate your success or health or
right.
relationship. We are not living in a Chinese temple. Yeah.
Right.
So it must be about you. Like for you, it would be Scott Schilling Speaks, that logo, put that in a gold looking frame and hang that in your success direction. So this way you will attract more success towards your TV show, right?
I love it.
So, but definitely get a big, beautiful globe, right? And put it in your workspace, not in your bedroom. You don't want international lovers coming to your life, right? Right. So in your relationship, you would put a beautiful picture of you and your partner. Yeah. Because
Right.
that's the intimate space. Yeah. So it's really interesting. And people have seen these little wonderful shifts that start happening very quickly because most people already have done a lot of work on the spiritual side. They have a lot of great work done on the human side, but things are still not manifesting fast and easy because the environment is not clicking in, it's not shifting and aligning with what they really want inside of themselves and what they have
Right.
been praying for, right? Once they do that, it's like that's where people say it's like magic, but it's not. It's because you're aligning yourself in a perfect way. It's like, remember the Rubik puzzle, yeah, the box, the
Right.
Rubik cube. Well, you had all these colors, but the last thing that you put, like, hey, you have everything, all the colors on the right place. It's like, wow. And you sometimes don't see it till that last thing, right? And that's actually what feng shui does.
It's absolutely fascinating. Again, it's interesting because the last time we were together, I immediately got the app and I did some of those things. And I mean, I moved We moved some things in our bedroom, put the dowsing rods down, did a variety of different things like that. But I don't know that I was in my office much at that time,
Hmm.
because I was still on the road a lot and
Yeah.
traveling. And so my office wasn't typically an airplane. Well, now obviously with the pandemic, we've been confined, quite a bit. And quite frankly, I was sharing this on a podcast yesterday that many positives have actually come from it, being able to use technology and not having to get on airplanes
Yeah.
and not having to go through all the fun of travel. If people always say, "Oh, that has to be so awesome to get to see." Yeah, you see the airport, the hotel, the stage, the airport, the hotel, the stage. you know,
Yeah. And
the
once in a while, good dinners with friends like you, right?
yes, exactly, absolutely. That is the number one part of being on the road and doing that. But I was just thinking that I'm going to open up after we finish. I'm going to open up my app and revisit that because again, my vision board has been in a place where I put it uh, before knowing this, right?
Yes.
And so, gosh, what an easy little change that would be, or some of these
Correct.
other different things, right?
Yeah.
I,
And
I
so
find
when you
it
think,
fascinating.
yeah, when you think about an office, there's something else I really want to let you know for sure, is that think about a king or queen, an emperor, or president. When you think about the Oval Chamber, right? So think the president of the United States. So he sits in such a place that I think there are 4 or 5 doors in the Oval Chamber. He can actually see them all. Yeah. So he always sees people coming in. He doesn't put his desk to the window seeing the Washington Monument, what actually would be a great view, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
So, but he doesn't do that because then he has the back to all the doors. So always make sure you put your desk in such a position that you see the main door. Because if you have different doors, the main door where people come from the hallway into the space, because then you are in what we call a power position. So if you are putting your desk against a window or against a wall, you can see the window, but people don't come in through the window. People come in through doors. Yeah. The people that come through the windows, they're not always so good to you, right? They're
Exactly.
come to rob your space, right? So,
Right.
but if you're facing a wall, you actually are hitting the wall. Like literally, you put your hands out and you're already hitting the wall. So, how can you create income? How can you create space and opportunities and possibilities? Because nobody else can sit on the other side of your desk. So, you think about any CEO, you never see them sitting with their back to the door or hitting the wall. So a lot of people just that very simple technique. Take your desk, turn this around. I have seen people say like, they got promotions, they start having other job offers
Mhm.
because and like more clients came in. So I literally sit in such a place. I see the door, right? And I have a sitting area on the other side, like a chair or 2 chairs. What you see in a lot of CEOs, yeah, they have that because you're actually subconsciously saying there's always a client sitting on the other side talking to me, and especially because we're on the computer now so much, we're thinking, well, nobody's here. Yes, you are there. You are coming through my door, and that's
Yeah.
a computer, right? Into my space. Yeah.
Yes.
And so just that simple technique is very powerful. And then you will see when you get the energy report that this is the first step. But the second step is always to try, it's not always possible, to look at one of your 4 good directions. Like right now, I'm facing my relationship direction. Yeah. So it's always good. So because my energy is always much better, because we have done studies around and tests around it, that when you are facing one of your 4 best directions, and again, you can find that out, right? One of
Mhm.
your 4 best directions, your brain waves will actually go into alpha brain waves.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that means you're more concentrated, you're more inspired, more creative, and you're more solution driven. But there are areas you will see that are blank. Yeah. right?
Yeah.
So if you face one of these directions, even if you're sitting towards the door and you see the door, when you are more into beta brainwaves, and then you're more in fear, you're less inspired, you're less concentrated, you're more focusing on the problems. Yeah. So I always laugh with that, because I say to people, look, there are programs out there to pay thousands of dollars for people to get into alpha brainwaves. Yeah. I know a CEO once, and he, in Silicon Valley, and he was like, Marie, I want to be all the time in alpha brainwaves, because then I will be on top of my game. And I said, well, let's just turn your desk around. He was already seeing the door, and he was like, no, Marie, you don't get it. I pay every month so much to get on machines to train my brain system. I said, do you think that the wealthy and the successful people of thousands of years ago, they had these machines? They found other ways to always be on top of their game. Yeah, to always be in the best energy, to always be joyful and happy and clear on the decisions they wanted to make. I said they just made sure they were facing the right direction. Yeah. And I said, and that doesn't cost you anything. You just have to turn yourself around.
So thank you so much for all of this. So how do we make sure we get the free energy report? It's mariediamond.com.
Yeah, you go to marydown.com. It is a golden bar that says get your free energy report. So click on it. Yeah. And then it will just ask you, your birthday, day, month, and year, your gender. It must be your birth gender. Yeah. And then because it's related with your DNA. Right. So do that. And then you will ask you, of course, to put in your email address so we can send you the report. And you will also get some videos to give you some extra information. But for sure, go to the app, yeah, on Mary Diamond. Just put in Mary Diamond and you will get my app. It's for free, right? It's all free items. Definitely go to my YouTube channel, because we have a lot of great videos to explain you
You do.
and to help you with the feng shui of your home, your bedroom. So, because I really, really want people to know this information, and go to my Instagram, Mary Diamond 8. Yeah, 8 is a lucky number in feng shui. It means infinity, exponential growing. And so you get a lot of videos there. And I have every week a live stream, both on my YouTube, Facebook, and on Instagram, where I give always some more information and I answer people's questions.
Uh,
And go to Clubhouse, Mary
th- th-
Diamond is one thing.
that- That's pretty funny because my Facebook is Scott Schilling 8. My
Ah,
Instagram is Scott Schilling 8. My LinkedIn is Scott
cool.
Schilling 8. All of them are. And that was my number playing college football, number 8.
Wow. I had no idea. That's the first time I heard that. Well, this is the luckiest number, not 7. 7 is good for gambling, but we are not gambling in this world, right? We are the 8 stands for wisdom, knowledge, enlightenment, yeah, sharing the highest knowledge to the world. So you're definitely an 8.
That's just, it's funny when you said that. I was like, wait a second. That's really neat. So there's also, I wanted to, the other, is it's not Tree of Life meditation, or maybe it is. There was a
Tubes of light, tubes of
I'm
light
sorry.
meditation. The tubes of light meditation.
That's it. That tubes of light. That's it. Yeah, I wanted to because it's excellent. I'm not um, a good sitter in one place kind of guy,
Yeah.
even though I sit at my desk, you know, but I'm always doing something. And so
Mhm.
it's nice to have a meditation and have something that you can kind of sink into. Um, I'm sure more quiet time would help me and pretty much everybody else listening. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. But we don't always have time. We're super busy. So I remember when I talked to my spiritual master, I was like, okay, I want to meditate, but keep it short and short for me, right? Because I have a lot to do in the world. And so when I was 7, he actually taught me the tubes of light meditation. And so it's a 5-minute meditation. Actually, it's on the app, right? So you can also find it on the website. It's for free. And it's actually, I call it like inner feng shui, right? So you are aligning yourself, and also making sure that you're not allowing all this negative noise that is out there to come into your field, because we want to be concentrated, we want to be aligned, we want to stay in our hearts. And so it's a very simple meditation that so many people do every day, and they literally they tap on the meditation on the app every day whenever they want to, and then they hear me for 5 minutes. And it's a wonderful thing to do because you're aligning yourself. Yeah. I still do it. I do it since I'm 7. I do it every morning,
Wow.
and I just align myself. And it's short, it's sweet, and people sometimes do it also in the evening. I would say if you can in the morning is the best time, but some people do it in the evening before they go to sleep. I have parents. I have now already, third generation. People that taught their children and now their grandchildren. That I was once with a family, and the little girl was like 3 years old, and she's like, "Oh, you Marie Diamond from the app," and she starts saying my meditation. You know, she knew it by heart because every night her mom would say that meditation before going to sleep, and then she was calm and peaceful, and she stood up much more energized in the morning. It's a very simple but very profound meditation.
That's amazing. Well, I could do this all day, and I know you would do it all day if we kept on going. But just really want to thank you for joining us here at Scott Schilling Speaks. And again, everything is available. A lot of free goodies in at mariediamond.com, and also go to either the iTunes the store, or the Apple Store, or Google Play to get the app. I have the app on my phone. I need to use it more, and I'm going to start, especially with the meditation there. So really appreciate. How about one last little piece of wisdom for everybody?
Well, my last wisdom would be for you is that you are so valuable. So love yourself. Yeah. And loving yourself is taking care of yourself by using perhaps all the wonderful information Scott has been sharing over all these wonderful presentations, and perhaps what I shared. But always keep learning, keep growing, because that it means that you're valuable.
Oh, thank you so much, Marie. Thank you for joining us, and thank everybody for taking advantage of this as an audience member. Please feel free to share this with your friends and get this information out, because I know Marie's intent is to help a lot of people, and that's mine as well. So we got lots of people we got to touch, so we need your help. Thanks for being here. We'll see you again at the next event. God bless.